Hello, my name is Daryl today. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'd like to read for us a daily reflections book for August 9th, 2026. It's called Of All Persons We Had Harmed and Became Willing to Make Amends to Them All. That's from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book on page 77. One of the key words in the 8th step is the word all. I am not free to select a few names for the list and to disregard others. It is a list of all persons I have harmed. I can see immediately that this step entails forgiveness, because if I'm not willing to forgive someone, there is little chance I will place his name on the list. Before I place the first name on my list, I said a little prayer. I forgive anyone and everyone who has ever harmed me at any time and under any circumstances. It is well for me to contemplate a small but very significant two-letter word every time the Lord's Prayer is said. The word is as. I ask, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. In this case, as means in the same manner. I am asking to be forgiven in the same manner that I forgive others. As I say this portion of the prayer, if I am harboring hatred or resentment, I am inviting more resentment when I should be calling on the spirit of forgiveness. Period. The end of the reading. That felt like a mouthful today. If I can remember what I was talking about yesterday, this it is a list of all persons I have harmed. I can see immediately this entails forgiveness, because if I'm not willing to forgive someone, there's little chance I'll place his name on the list. If you recall, and if I can recall when I said this, I think it was yesterday, that I kind of got off the rails about just focusing on making the list, and temporarily, for now, for a little while, just put the become willing part in the background, and certainly maybe put the all part in the background also, because I was saying, just to even have the idea, well, number one, the idea that you would actually harm somebody, that was a huge step for me. I didn't think I was harming anybody. And then there were some people I knew. I mean, my actions towards them were intended to be harmful, and I think it worked. So I couldn't understand why they had not have been harmed by me. That didn't come out real nice, but my point. What is my point in this? Oh, make this list, become willing, and all these people, everyone. That's a lot of stuff. So for me, to even want to have to even let these people back into my mind was a big step. And then all the people, which did come eventually, I wasn't ready to forgive them all, or to maybe not forgive them. The forgiveness would be, they did something wrong to me, so I lashed out at them. I harmed them deliberately on purpose because of their action. They started it, putting that kind of blame on people or circumstances, when I think that the step should be, well, should, I don't like that word. This step, let me see here. A big thing about this step, let me put it this way, is that I was losing sleep with the distractions in my mind of replaying a tape of where I had harmed people. So I would get flashbacks or glimpses of me being evil. I mean, really, straight up just evil, um, intending to harm people, and then doing it in cases of a lot of verbal abuse of just about everybody. And then just lying to people also isn't very nice. I think that's evil also. But anyhow, all and everyone and that kind of stuff. A list of all people we had harmed, become willing to make amends to them all. That's huge. Or it might seem huge. Uh, so even wanting to put, even believing I could have done wrong was a big step. And then it's like, okay, you got me. I was deliberately trying to harm these people, and I probably succeeded because now I'm being kept up at night by my conscience, telling me all kinds of ugliness. Um, and I need to do something. I need to apologize at the very least. Well, maybe at the very least, I need to let these people back into my mind or whatever, think about the harm I've caused, and become willing to make an amend for the harm I caused first, in like a generic way, because like I like to use Bob, Ted, Bill, Alice, these like four names. It's like, well, I'm not ready to try and make an amend for harming Bill or Bob, that guy, man, um, because of whatever. But I am willing to go this far that I did harm somebody intentionally, and I'm becoming willing. I may not be all the way willing yet, but willing to make some kind of amend or some kind of correctional, move in that direction to correcting the harm I caused. And then eventually it did come where, okay, that kind of worked, but not enough. I need to really examine this stuff and figure out who I harmed, write the name down so I cannot forget it, because I mentioned earlier, that I had like a mental list of people that I thought I'm never going to be willing to be nice at all to these people. They were unforgivable people, so they're silent people on uh, nearly imaginary list, and then there's the real list of people. Wait, let me put it this: there's like two real lists. One list of these people I just can't even imagine apologizing or making some kind of amend, and then it's like the first list of, well, I can see. Let me read from here. Of all persons we had harmed, one of the key words is as, or no, all. I am not free to select a few names for the list and to disregard others. It is a list of all persons I have harmed. So that was a big bunch of work I wasn't ready to do. It took me also about 2 years, the way I was working at this, to get even that partial list of people I might be willing to forgive or to make an amend to. And then there's it took well, inside of 10 years, I had all people I'd harmed on a written list, and I'd become willing to make amends to them all. It took me 10 years to get to that point. There's varying circumstances. Some of these people were dead, so how do you do that? I'm not ready to get into that today, I don't think. Let's read the eighth step. Or I'll read the eighth step and we can all listen. From the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, the eighth step: made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So right there, this the amount of energy required, physical energy, make a list. Pretty simple. Not a lot of expenditure. If you had all the data ready, it wouldn't take long to write down some names. Even like 20, 30, 50 names. That might take a little bit, but maybe not an hour even to write the names. Anyhow, my point is in a deceptive way. This would seem like a simple step to, because making a list, big deal. Well, when you start thinking about putting names on a list, our minds will start to judge and criticize and then justify and try and weasel out of it. Our ego will be like, Bob doesn't get an amend or not even an apology or whatever. So just make a list. Put this in like 3 parts maybe. Make the list, become willing, and then try and include everybody, like a 3-part kind of thing maybe. I'm sorry, got a problem with the chair here. I was up very late working last night, and I'm not feeling on top of it today. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. I'm not free to select a few names and disregard the others. It's a list of all people we had harmed. This is going to entail forgiveness, because if I'm not willing to forgive someone, there's little chance I will place his name on the list of someone that gets an amend. Wait a minute. That seems like some kind of paradox that why am I forgiving people if I harm them? Shouldn't I be apologizing? Well, yes, also, they're both true at the same time. The forgiveness and apology thing, because like I was just saying, this is a simple action until you start thinking too much about it and not wanting to extend an apology to somebody, because a lot of us, me included, get it stuck in our heads that they started it, they did something worthy of my fury, and I retaliated in a likewise manner. They deserved it. They were asking for it. Those kind of thoughts. So the forgiveness, I think, is to correct that. It's like, well, they started it, but I'm willing to forgive them. And at the time, they started something I wasn't willing to forgive, so I lashed out in anger, say, and harmed them in some way. A whole lot of verbal harm from this guy, because the physical harm I wanted to create, towards some of these people. See how I just start to edit that down, and I'm human. I'm looking for loopholes
and I want to be lazy and slippery and not um, taxed with too much action or something. I don't want to have to expend a lot of energy, mental or physical, pretty much all the time. That's, I think, a basic evolutionary thing. Um, because still, basically, as a biological unit here, I need to conserve my energy to hunt and get more energy. I don't want to be spending energy in mental stuff. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there so much, and I'm in real danger now of losing the entire point. If we look back at yesterday's title, made a list, and then today's title, of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all, you can surprise yourself with, see, this is the 8th step. If you have done, maybe you're not there yet, but once you've done those other 7 steps, I'll briefly try to say them. Starting at 1, we admitted we're powerless over alcohol, that we had become unmanageable. I better just read every word. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This is probably where you're going to get some data for step 8, or names, instead of data. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. This goes a long way in changing this mindset and become willing to do things that you thought were impossible. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And step 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. So I'll put it this way, it might be in the little red book, that upon doing those first 7 steps, we're now either in or closer to being in a suitable spiritual condition to make a list of all persons we had harmed and to become willing to make amends to them all. So if you've sincerely, completely, thoroughly, honestly done those 7 steps that I briefly read through, it'll be surprising that your heart, just to continue being peaceful in your life, or serene maybe, that you become willing to make amends to people that you once thought didn't deserve it. So where am I at for time? 18 minutes. I'm trying to keep these down to 30 minutes. I could stop now, and that would be well within the envelope. Do you think I will? If you've noticed, I have a tendency to kick a dead horse and get off the rails and go off on the shiny bunny hunt. But mind you, I'm always trying to help. That's the motivation here. And some days, in my exuberance to get that done, man, I can start dragging off a bunch of stuff that's making sense to me, and it just gets to be too much. Perhaps that's a shortcoming of mine. Keep backing up the steps. If you're stuck on a step, like this one, like where it says, this is some heavy duty stuff, I think. When you start throwing around words like every and all and forever, things like that, they seem awful inclusive, where maybe I'm not willing to tread. August, not October, pal. Daryl. Uh, August comes before September. August, 9 of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. That's frightening, frankly. It's well to contemplate the small word as. What's a simple made up hypothetical thing that Bill, Bob, Ted, Alice, they all did something to me. We were all at the same gathering, and me in my drunken state, because again, this is kind of important, that certainly, well, I was a blackout drinker, so certainly in these blank periods of time or blacked out periods of time where I was fully in my cups, I think is what they say. When I was loaded up drunk on alcohol and not incapable of remembering at any point later, um, I probably made some mistakes to keep it light. And then when come to wherever it might be and see some evidence that, oh, wow, I'm in jail again. I wonder what happened. And doing these first like 7 steps, you might start to go, well, I probably did something wrong. I can't blame Bob, Ted, Bill, Alice, these other people. I was awful drunk. I did something wrong. Now I'm in the drunk tank or in some holding cell or some other place I really don't want to be in. And so it's on me. I did some wrong thing. Where am I going with this? That I had a point. Honest. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I'm going to see if I drop it, then it will pop right back in here. Maybe that's why I jump all over the place. Oh, well, to contemplate this thing, the word is as. So I come to in prison for causing great harm, say. It's not like my friends, say, attacked me. I was drunk, unaware of what I'm doing. I caused harm. Now the consequences are here. I would like to be forgiven as I'm willing to forgive these people. Whether or not the forgiveness towards them is, I don't know if it's culpable, if you need to do that, if certainly this hypothetical, like we're all together, Bob, Bill, Ted, Alice, and me. I'm drunk. I don't know what I'm doing. I drive my car right through their fence in the front yard, unaware, completely drunk, and just stop that little story right there. The harm I created, or the amend I'm trying to, or the brokenness I'm trying to amend, is the physical fence I drove my car through. Now, it might have just been an accident. It might have been caused by being drunk and an accident. I might have had a crazy, or at the time, a well motivated thought. I'm driving my car right through that fence. They deserve this. So that word as, I would like to be forgiven, by the arresting officers and the people pressing charges, as I'm willing to make an amend for the fence. First off, I would like to apologize to these people if they will hear it. We'll get into that on the ninth step, because we don't want to be causing more harm. A familiar circumstance to me is that some ruckus occurs, I do some harm, and then there's a restraining order taken out against me, and then I feel so poorly at some point down the road, I want to make an amend. If I go and break that restraining order, that's not going to be good for anybody, I don't think. So that's, let me read that in step 9. We made direct amends to such people that we had harmed. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible. And I want to explain wherever, but I'm not going to right this second. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others, period. The end of the ninth step. As golden rule kind of thing, now that I am willing to accept I did something wrong, I really feel it's my duty and responsibility to make some kind of apology and some kind of amend wherever possible, so long as I don't harm these people again. So let's see, I'm going to stop there. And, well, I'm going to lay this theory on you again. Actually, if I do it right, you should be able to read in the description that I've got two kind of tenets or parts to my theory about how I'm using this book, the Daily Reflections. One is that the month number corresponds with the step that they're talking about as the topic. So this is the 8th month. We're talking about the 8th step. And since there's 4 weeks in each month, this book is, I've been discovering a pattern, I think. I don't think it's just the human need to find a pattern. Well, that drove it initially, but I think it's true. And that's just a coincidence that in the description I've written down that the first week is the orientation, the second week is methodology of how you might do the step, the third week is the actual execution of doing that step, and then the fourth week is explaining the transformation that is very likely to occur. I'm not ready to say should occur, but that might be what they're driving at. Okay, so, man, keep up the hard work. It can be grueling and not something you really have an appetite for, maybe. Desperation does funny things to humans. It did funny things to this guy, this human. It made me look for courage and honesty, and then to just use those qualities. Not easy to come about courage for a lot of people, and it's for an addict, oof, very difficult, at least for this guy. So keep up that grueling hard work. It is worth it. You know, maybe I said this the other day. I heard it years and years ago, decades ago. The more, look at this, 29 minutes. The more that we sweat in training, the less we're going to bleed in war or on the field. And you don't run a marathon all at once. You train. You run 1 mile, then 10 or something, then 20, then 26 or whatever. You don't do it all at once. And we need to prepare and work hard to be able to do these things. It's very difficult when you're actively drinking to do any of these steps. It's not impossible. Anyhow, man, keep up the hard work. It's worth it. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for coming by here. Hopefully I don't need to make an amend for wasting your time. I hope you don't feel that way. If you do, perchance, maybe look at that another day and go, can I learn something from that? Why did I think that was a complete waste of my time? And there's nothing positive or constructive or productive to be learned here. I changed my ways and started seeing things more in that light. Evel Knievel. There's the equivalency, there's an equal part of benefit to every adversity. Or in every adversity, there's the equivalency to benefit if, let's say, if you're willing to look for it. Because that takes this energy that we don't like to expend. And I'll get back with you later. Thank you for coming here. Goodbye.